like I am recording. Hey you guys, I just wanted to say how much we really miss you guys, and we can't wait for everything to go back to normal so that we can start seeing you guys at the library again. One of the things we decided to do while we were gone is to try to do some activities at home and film them and put them on our Facebook page so that we can kind of keep in contact with you guys. So I remember on the Valentine's Day party that we had a couple of young men, you know who you are, that showed me some stories that they were writing. And while I am pretty much stuck at home, a few of you might know that I've had a comic book in my head for a while that I have never had the chance to actually start writing. Well, guess what? I have finally started writing my comic book. So what we decided to do is that I was going to do a few video series on what I am doing to get my comic book going. And the first thing I want to talk about is how I am going to be doing my plot structure and a couple of tools that any of you guys that are doing some writing for fun can use. These are common structures that are used in a lot of different movies and books, and also comic books and video games, because so many video games now are very story driven, or just really heavy story driven. So one of the things I want to talk to you first about is something that's called Freytags Pyramid. So this is basically, it's like a structure for a lot of your different plots that you see. It's very common, it's repeated over and over and over again. I will be putting a picture of this this pyramid up on, or actually down, in the comments section. If I can figure out, I might even try to put it up on your screen. But for now, this is what Freytags Pyramid looks like. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about it. So the first thing is, when you are writing a structure for your plot, you usually start at the everyday, mundane, regular stuff that you do. Then there's going to be an incident, something that occurs that is going to basically drive you into action. And your pyramid is going to start going up. And your climax is basically your final battle, or the final thing that helps resolve everything. But during that climb, you usually have some setbacks. You'll usually meet mentors, gain powers or some insight, or build strength. Then you reach the climax, which is like your main fight, like in the Avengers when they finally defeat Thanos. And then you got your falling action. So right after the big crescendo of your story, you kind of have some falling action. You learn some things, you resolve stuff, tie up your loose ends, and then you get your resolution and something that's called démon. Obviously it's French. And that is basically just like the end. Everything is resolved. So there are a couple of videos that I'm also going to link down in the comments section. And this is something that's called The Hero's Journey. So there was a guy, Joseph Campbell. He wrote a book called it's The Hero with 1,000 Faces. And he created basically what is called The Hero's Journey after reading tons and tons of books and legends from all over the globe, all walks of life, all different cultures. And he realized that they have a lot of the same structure. So that's just called The Hero's Journey. I'm going to hold it up, but I will also be putting some information down in the comics, so don't worry. So if you can see it, maybe, oh, I lost it. Where'd it go? That's what happens when you touch your screen. You get something else. Okay, so this is called The Hero's Journey, and it is always cyclic. Usually your hero starts here, does the circuit, and usually when he ends, he usually has a little bit of insight into the world, so he's never really the same, but it's a cyclic pattern. Usually what happens is you get a call to adventure. Usually that's like Frodo when he gets called to adventure by Gandalf. He says he's got to go take the One Ring back and destroy it. And usually during that you've got some supernatural age, you meet a mentor, you make friends, and then you cross over something that's like the threshold. That's when you are leaving your ordinary world behind and you're going into the unknown. And again, like in Lord of the Rings, that was when Sam basically says, if I take another step, that's the furthest I've ever been from home. And for me, when I'm reading The Hobbit or watching The Hobbit, that is for me the threshold that they have to cross, is leaving the Shire, right? And then of course in their journeys you meet melters, helpers, that's maybe Strider or Aragorn the king. They also meet Gimli and you meet Legolas in their journey. And then you've got something that's called Revelation. And that's like the abyss, or in the Freytags Pyramid is your climax. That's when you are basically face to face with your antagonist, who is usually the bad guy. That's where you get the word antagonizing. So that is the guy who has made something wrong in the world. You've got to go fix it. That's when you finally meet them. That is when you have your final battle or whatnot. And then you've got transformation and atonement. So you are transformed into a different person. You'll never be the same again. And then you basically come out of the unknown, back into the regular world, but you are changed. You are not the same person that you left. So you've got an insight, you've got a knowledge, you've got a power, you've got a strength. So that is sort of the cyclic way that the hero's journey works. And if you look at a lot of different books and movies, there are so many different examples, I can't even name them all. But I am going to put 2 links to 2 videos that explains the hero's journey, and also gives you examples from like The Matrix and Star Wars and Harry Potter and a whole bunch of different other movies that you're gonna recognize, obviously. So one thing that I definitely recommend when you start writing any kind of book, novel, comic book, first thing you definitely want to do is you want to write out an outline for your plot. Like so far, my comic book, the outline itself is like 4 pages, and I'm still working on it. So you want to write out everything that's going to happen in your story so that you can fall back on it, look at your notes later, know where your action is taking you so that you don't get lost in your own story. So it's very important that you sit down, you write your plot, you know exactly where your story is going to go before you even start writing the story. One thing that you can also do is your main characters. It's a really good idea to write some profile of your characters. So my comic book has 4 main characters and an antagonist, who is the bad guy. So each one of my characters has 4 pages of information: their name, their age, what they look like, what their personality is. Do they have a prop? Like some of my characters are going to learn how to use weapons, and so they will eventually be carrying weapons. You also want to, how does this person speak? Do they speak eloquently? Do they speak with a drawl? Are they crass? Do they use bad language? So you want to write all of this stuff down because you can always fall back on it later. And what is the person like as a person? Are they moody? Are they optimistic? Are they sad? So you want to write all of that stuff down. Also their likes and dislikes. One of my characters, she absolutely hates pop music, but she loves heavy metal. So you're writing that stuff down. It's always good to write it down so you can draw back on it. Who does your character know? Do they have friends? Who are the people that they hang out with? Also, where do they live? So this is also a good time to write sort of some indicators on your time period, where in the world they are, where in the universe they are, other than saying, like that 70s show, Point Place, Wisconsin, 1978. But instead of doing that, you're just going to write some little snippets that sort of indicate what time period you're at, where you're living, etc. And then, of course, what do you do? Are you a student? Are you a soldier? Are you a businessman? So you want to write that sort of stuff down so you can always draw back on it later. And of course, what is their role in the story? So I've got the 4 main characters and my antagonist. And then of course I'm going to be writing some other secondary characters, bad guys, some friends that they're going to meet along the way. They will get some outlines, but they're not going to be as detailed. But your main characters, you want a very, very detailed profile on everybody. So yeah, their role in the comic or in the story. And then, of course, the worst part is their backstory. So parts of their life that have gotten them up to this point, so that it kind of builds them as a character so that you can draw back on that later on. And then going back to writing the structure of your story, I have heard from a lot of different people in the industry, and a lot of them always say the same thing. They like to start at the end. perhaps writing down like how you're going to resolve your issues before you start writing, and then you go to the beginning, and then you write your middle or your climax, and then you just fill everything else in. Go back later and do it. So I believe that that is how I'm going to probably start doing it. I know how it starts, I know how it ends, but I got to get out the middle part, which is going to be very interesting. So I also recommend getting something called a rocket book. So this is my rocket book. If you can see the logo, it literally is called Rocket Book. This is a never-ending notebook. The cool thing about this is it's the pages are kind of made from a plastic, and you use a special pen that comes with it. These pens you can actually buy in the store. They're a pilot pen. When you're done writing, you take a picture with your phone. You program your app in your phone to upload it to wherever you want it to go. So these are actually set to upload directly to my Drive account on Google every time I take a picture. So I make my graphics like what I made earlier. I take a photo with my phone and it uploads it to the Drive account or somewhere on the cloud, wherever you want to put it. If you're going to write a story, these are very handy to have because you can just carry this little guy with you everywhere. You can write notes if an idea comes to mind and write it down, save it, upload it to the cloud, or just save it to your phone. So, all right, the next time I get on here, hopefully I'll be a little bit further. I've got a lot of it already finished, and I will be working on probably learning how to do some storyboards, which I will share with you guys next time. Okay, I miss you guys so much. I can't wait to come back and see you all again. Bye.